Okay, I hope everybody can see me and hear me. Today we're looking at call phrasal verbs. Again, there are a few with call which can be a little bit tricky, and they're difficult, they're tricky because they have several meanings. It's usually the reason why phrasal verbs can be quite troublesome. So let's start with some of the harder ones and we'll finish with some of the easier ones. So if you call someone in, this can mean exactly the same as call someone out, and it means ask somebody to come to your house, usually for repairs. So you can call in an electrician, you can call in a plumber, you can call in a builder, but you could even call in the police or the fire service or the ambulance service, and you can certainly call out all of these people as well. And it's usually done when there's some kind of emergency. So you call in a plumber when you have a flood. You call out the electrician when there's perhaps some sparks flying when you turn on the light or somebody gets an electric shock. So that's one meaning of call in. Second meaning of call in is demand repayment of a loan or favour. So if you call in a loan, it means you demand repayment of that loan. And if you call in a few favours, maybe you're in trouble and you need to call in a few favours to get yourself out of trouble. And so it's very common collocation, call in a loan or call in a favour. Remember that one, I'd even write it there with call in a favour. Okay, call up can mean ring up. Nice easy one for you there, nothing taxing about that, nothing too confusing. And also, if you are called up for military service, that means you are summoned to the army to do your national service. Fortunately, I've never been called up. I don't think I'd make a very good soldier anyway. But you can also be called up to a football team if you're particularly talented at football. I've never been called up for a football team either. But that's when the football team want you. They need your skills, and so they call you up. If you're called up to play for Arsenal, that means they've decided that you're good enough to play for them and they want you. Okay, call out, as I just said, can mean call out a plumber, call out an electrician, call out the police, call out the fire service, but also call in. And call out, if you call someone out, and it is there, the someone is in between the verb and the preposition. If you call someone out on a mistake, or if you call someone out on something that they've done wrong, that means you draw attention. Notice that draw still means attract. You attract attention, you draw attention to their mistake or to their bad behaviour. So let's say you watch one of my YouTube videos and you perhaps notice one of the many mistakes which I have made on some of the videos, and you decide to call me out on my mistake, and you write under the video the mistake which I have made. A few people have called me out on some of my mistakes. I remember on the video I did concerning gerunds, perfect gerunds and perfect infinitives, somebody called me out on the fact that I had called a perfect participle a perfect gerund, and yes, they were right, and so I thank them for calling me out on my mistake, although I perhaps wasn't that generous when they first made the comment. But it's good to call people out on their mistakes. You ought to tell them when they've made a mistake. Okay, if you call on something, if you call on inner resources, if you call on your strength, or if you call on your skills or your talents, you're drawing on your skills. You're making use of those skills because you need them in some kind of way at that moment. You can also call on the government to lower taxes, which means you publicly demand, you publicly speak out, and you say, I demand that the government lower taxes. I call on the government to lower taxes. So that's one way you can use it, like publicly demand. And there are many other ways. It doesn't have to be the government. You can say, I call on you to do something. It sounds very formal. It's a very formal piece of English. It's a formal phrasal verb, that one. But if you call on someone to do something, you demand that they do something. And if you just call on your mate, if you call on Frank or you call on Jenny, you just pay that person a visit. Okay, you just go to their house and you pay that person a visit. If I call off a lesson, and it's very rarely done, I very rarely call off lessons, but maybe I have to go and pick the kids up, I have to go and pick them up from school. In which case, but maybe my mum can't do it and my wife can't do it, I'll have to pick them up, and I'll sometimes have to call off the lesson for that reason, but it is very rare. You could also call off your dog. If you set your dog on an attacker, or on a burglar, or on an intruder, that means you let go of the dog and say kill, or attack, or whatever. You make the dog attack them. And then if you call the dog off, you order the dog to stop the attack. But this could also be done with troops. You can call off an invasion, meaning cancel the invasion, basically. Not sure what that said, sorry. But yeah, if you call off an attack, if you call off your attackers or you call off your troops, you order them to stop the attack in some kind of way. You cancel the attack, basically. It's another way that call off is used. Now, if perhaps a memory calls forth certain emotions, it means it elicits certain emotions. This really is a response. So I've got an example here because I think this one's quite a formal phrasal verb. You say something like, the novel called forth numerous emotions, meaning it brought up numerous emotions. It elicited numerous emotions. And you might go to another country and it may call forth a number of images in your mind, meaning it caused them, it brought about those images in your mind, it elicited them. Really quite a common one, but it sounds quite literary to me, or quite, certainly at least formal. If the situation calls for action, it means that the situation demands action. So maybe you're failing in all your exams at school and you decide this calls for it calls for you to knuckle down, it calls for you to really work much harder. So it demands that you work harder. So call for can mean demand, and you can certainly call for something publicly as well. I mean, politicians might call for raising taxes or lowering taxes, meaning they demand it. But also, if you call for someone at their house, then that just means you knock on the door, usually to pick them up, although it doesn't have to be pick them up, but it does mean knock on their door and call for them. If you call someone back, you ring someone back, that's all. You return their call, you call them back later. If you call by someone's house, you drop by their place, you pop by, or you drop round their place. Now, that's all I've got actually for you today. If you've got any comments or anything like that, probably now is the best time to make these comments. If you make them in the middle of the lesson, I'm afraid I see them just come up for a second on my screen and it's too far away for me to read and answer. So I'll give you another 30 seconds or so to try and put your comments now. You're all silent now, you see. Now I've finished the lesson, nobody's saying anything. So I'll give you another 20 seconds and then I'm going to finish. But I'm going to keep doing these kind of phrasal verb lessons because it's much quicker and easier for me to put them on live. I know it's better quality if I don't put them on live, but it takes about another hour's worth of my time at least to put them up onto YouTube and get them all sorted out. So in future I'll be doing more live lessons, and I'm afraid if you're not happy about that, tough. Okay, thanks everybody, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.